Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hi,
everybody.
everybody.
You can tell we're excited to be here today.
Always exciting. Just we're waiting for everyone to start logging in, so we're just watching as everybody begins to pour in and join our presentations. But in any case, this is our chance to introduce ourselves today. This is, if you are wondering, if you are just logging in, this is the CELPIP Listening Workshop for Paragon Testing Enterprises and Summerhill Online Academy. And my name is Maciej Blazik, and I am the director of Summerhill Online Academy. My guest here today is Anna Baxter from Paragon Testing Enterprises.
Yay, thank you. I also have my colleague here,
Right.
Patrick.
Everybody.
I felt that I needed his assistance today, so we have a new person today, but we both work at Paragon Testing Enterprises, and my background is in linguistics, and I've been an instructor for over 20 years, plus working in various test centers as well. So I'm very happy to be here helping out today. And Patrick, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I was actually have a background in customer service and social services. So I have a bachelor's degree in social work, and yeah, now I'm doing marketing on Anna's team with Paragon Testing, and just looking to spread the word about the CELPIP test so that you guys know what your options are and can make the right choice for you. So very happy to be here today, this evening.
Fantastic. And also Patrick is an expert in CALE. I know that today's focus is going to be about CELPIP, but some of the attendees may ask some questions about customer service related questions, especially post-COVID. Things are beginning to open up a little bit. So in terms of registration, I have some questions as well as things move on. So a lot of our students at our school, they do have some questions. So I will also be asking some very serious questions about procedures, about registrations, about new policies and how they've changed. So I hope you're ready there, Patrick, because I'm going to be asking some hard balls there. Right, throwing at you some hard balls.
I was born ready. Don't worry.
I'm sure you are. But in any case, again, for you, some of you guys who are joining just now, my name is Maciej Blazik, and I'm the director of Summerhill Online Academy. Previously, I worked mostly in the college system, teaching English communication classes, business communication classes, and of course, I worked for big colleges like Seneca College, George Brown College, Mohawk College, teaching programs like IELTS and CELPIP, and basically teaching a lot of standardized language proficiency examinations. And again, I've worked as a language teacher or in the language teaching business for about 20 years now. So post-COVID, I founded the Summerhill Online Academy, which I believe is a program that is really going to help a lot of students during COVID to get their preparation for these standardized language proficiency examinations for permanent residency, post-secondary education, and for citizenship that they need. So I hope everyone is here. But in any case, for today, we are focusing on CELPIP listening. So CELPIP listening, and today we're going to overview CELPIP listening in general. We're going to talk a little bit about CELPIP in general. This is not an info session. This is a skills strategy session, not just a general info session. We're going to talk about specific strategies for each sections in CELPIP listening. So this is an hour-long workshop. We're going to try to focus some more attention on some skills more than others. Some of them we're going to kind of group together, but we're going to look at concrete strategies for CELPIP listening, and we're going to have 2 mini listening exercises just to see how our attendees are going, and then we're going to save a little bit of time later for questions and answers. And this is a nice Q&A session. You can ask me anything about CELPIP listening, you can ask Patrick anything about procedures, you can ask Ada anything about CELPIP and CALE. So we're going to be here to answer any of your questions. Now, guys, on the right-hand side of your webinar, you'll be able to see some questions. You'll be able to post questions. I'm going to do a lot of talking and presenting. Anna, if you can be so kind as usual, monitor the questions as they come. And
Yeah.
be sure to interrupt me as necessary and ask me any pertinent questions that come. So guys, feel free to ask questions at any time. So you don't have to wait for the questions at the end. We will try to go through and try to answer any of your questions which you have not answered throughout the presentation. But at any time, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask us, especially when we're presenting at a particular point. Okay?
And as you have realized already that you will not be able to at least vocally ask your questions. So just make sure, as Maciej said before, to use the question box, ask us all any questions you want during our presentation, and after we'll also be responding to some of your questions. If you're having any technical issues, then try to log out and log back in again. Or if you're using Chrome, that would be the best platform for this GoToWebinar today. And for this type of exercise, if you have the opportunity, go get a pen and either notebook or notepad or a piece of paper, because a lot of the information you will hear today will be useful. So go run, get the stuff that you need, and then come right back, and we'll be here waiting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. For the next couple slides, I'm going to talk a little bit generally here. But guys, if you're sitting there at home and you want to participate, this is going to be an interactive experience. What you need now is a pen, pencil, crayon, any writing utensil you can find, and a whole lot of paper. You're going to need some paper and something to write with. So if you don't have one now, go ahead and grab one. And so let's go ahead and begin. So let's go ahead and talk about CELPIP listening. Now, CELPIP listening, this is actually our first workshop. This is the first Summerhill Online Academy workshop on listening. And I'm very happy to see today's turnout. CELPIP listening is very important because it's essential for both the CELPIP General, which is for permanent residency and professional designations like ICCRC and some legal and other legal professional designations, but also General LS, which is specifically for citizenship. So the General LS is a shorter version of the CELPIP. It only features listening and speaking, but again, listening is so essential. So this is a really important aspect for CELPIP listening. And I hear a lot of students, a lot of candidates telling me that, oh, you know, I do practice my listening because, you know, I go to work or I work at a call center, so I speak and I listen all the time. But there are, in fact, techniques, plans, and strategies for CELPIP listening that you have to learn. Even if you get, this is true for any standardized language proficiency examination, whether it's IELTS or CELPIP. Even if you take someone from the street, a native language speaker, and you give one of these tests to them, they may not do an excellent job because it's a lot of techniques. They may not know what they are supposed to be doing, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at CELPIP listening. So actually, CELPIP listening is divided into 6 sections, but roughly we can divide them into 2 categories of questions. So questions 1 to 3 are sections 1 to 3, parts 1, 2, and 3 of the CELPIP listening are all basically, you listen to a particular dialogue, you listen to a particular dialogue, you do take notes, it's very important. And then you're going to listen to the question, and then you'll have time to answer with multiple choice the answer. So you listen to the question, and then you have to choose an answer. Any comments, guys? Anna, I think we've lost you there. Sound?
Yes, thank you. We did have a short request from one of the audience here today. If you could just speak a little bit slower, just so that people can understand, because we do understand that there are different levels of English today. So if you could help us out there, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'm in Toronto here. It's 6 p.m., so I'm very caffeinated at the moment, right? So it's got to keep that coffee down. But yes, absolutely. I'm sorry for speaking too quickly. So sections or parts 1 of 3 from listening, in those particular sections, you will listen to a dialogue between a man and a woman, and then you'll have 5 to 8 questions. And in those questions, you're going to hear the question, and then you get to choose one of the multiple answers, right? You get to answer. choose one of the multiple answers, A, B, C, D, that's on the screen. Anything you want to add, guys?
Yes, I mean, when you're doing these parts, I know Mache is going to explain in full detail all the information that you need to know, but this is sort of what you're looking at the screen right now. This is sort of what the test will look like. So just be aware that yes, you're going to hear it once. And I think the best recommendation for any of these sections is to respond to the question. It's going to be multiple choice, so just make sure to always respond to the question, even if you're not too sure, but at least respond to the question. You don't get points taken off if you don't have the right response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, and then the last three parts of the CELPIP listening, sections 4 to 6, what you're going to do is you're going to hear a longer either talk, discussion, or lecture, and then you're going to see all of the questions, usually 5 or 6 questions on the screen, and then you'll have a certain time to answer. So you see all the questions on screen, and then you basically press the pull down menu and you choose the right option. And those are basically the 2 categories. Anything to add
Yes.
there?
And something that you will also notice here is that when you are doing the first 3 parts, usually it'll be pretty easy to do. But then while you go into the next parts, which are parts 4, 5, and 6, gradually they will become a little bit more difficult and a bit challenging for some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so absolutely, that's a great point. These listening tasks do get progressively more and more difficult, with section 6 being the most difficult of the sections. And again, we'll talk about each one of those sections. But basically, when we think about an overall strategy, for listening, and that takes, we're talking about all of those 6 sections. Basically, you need to trust in your writing skills. So first of all, this is kind of counterintuitive in a sense. This is a little bit surprising, but I would say don't pay attention so much on what is on the screen, especially during the listening. Now, sometimes I can see candidates listening, but they're looking at the screen, they're looking at the timer as it's going through. Sometimes they're even pay attention to some of the visual cues that they can see on screens. Is from section 1 to 3, I see many candidates looking at the multiple choice answers as they're listening to the question as well. All of this is a mistake. Big point is when you're listening, all you're doing is listening. You are ignoring what is on the screen. The only exception would be section 5. Again, I'm going to talk about section 5, which is a video, which apparently you're supposed to watch, but I actually don't. I glimpsed at it, I get the general idea, but it's very rare that I would pay attention to what is actually happening to the video. I focus on my most important task when I do this, which is taking notes. And time again, I get many candidates, many students that come to me, and they're very resistant to this. Why do I have to take notes? I can't take notes. If I'm taking notes, I'm getting distracted. Taking good notes is a skill. Now, I'm going to tell you something which is really surprising. So before there was actually CELPIP, there was CALE. Now, CALE is the academic test developed by Paragon. CELPIP is the test developed by Paragon for permanent residency and for professional skills and for citizenship. But before there was CELPIP, there was CALE, and CALE was an academic test. And when CALE was designed specifically to replicate a classroom environment. So if you remember going to school and being in class, what did you do? You listened. Was that all you did? Of course not. You also took notes, right? Taking good notes was the key into getting a good classroom experience. So when CELPIP was designed, many of those ideas, the necessity for taking notes, were put into the CELPIP test. So I'm just going to put it out there. CELPIP listening was specifically designed for you to take notes. So note taking is an integrated part of the listening test. Without taking good notes, you will fail this test. Guys, any comments there?
That was pretty tough there. I think
Ooh.
there are a lot of people asking about the note taking if it's necessary, and obviously you just answered the question right now. But apart from that, there are some people that say, well, usually for the first few sections, they don't take notes and it's not necessary for them. But you do need to see what would be best for you, because what we are doing today is we are recommending how to take effective notes. But if there's a section that you've already tried, you feel that you don't need to take notes because it's maybe part one and it's maybe, depending on the person's level, it's easy enough for them to remember everything, then fine. But again, all these are recommendations to help you to improve your scores for the test. So again, I mean, I know for me, there are moments where I don't take notes, but I find it very effective or even more effective to do so. So I know that my Che, he's like, do this. And I think this is an absolutely great recommendation, because if you practice with it, then you will see improvements. So that's up to you if you want to take these recommendations or see what works for you. Okay.
Brian Joseph, you asked, should we take notes for section 1 and 3? I do. I absolutely do. And we're going to take a look at some of these notes, but it really is important because sometimes you forget who is speaking. Who is the audience, right? Who is actually speaking? So by being able to take notes, you can actually identify who said who. Who said what, sorry, who said what. And so yes, I would take notes for absolutely every one of these sections. So at least at this point, I hope everyone has their paper and their pens, because we're going to work on this, taking notes. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at these sections. So we can
Yes,
divide
because everyone is asking
sections.
about samples about taking notes. They're asking about how to take effective notes. So we are definitely covering that
We
today.
got you
So
covered.
don't worry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy this presentation, because this is going to be very compressed. We have a lot of information for you guys today.
Yeah.
But yes, so let's take a look at these 6 sections now. So basically, as I mentioned, the first 3 sections are kind of special. So these 3 sections, it's called listen to problem solving, listen to a daily life conversation, and listen to information. That's the official way of calling them. I find those official names kind of hard for me, so I'm going to just call all of those 3 sections the man and woman questions. Very simple. The first 3 sections are the man and woman questions. Why are
I totally agree, because the conversations will always be between 2 people, and it's always a man and a woman. So that makes it simple. So just remember man, woman, and that's all you need.
Right, that's it. It's a man and a woman question. They have no names. They're just a man and a woman. And again, when taking notes, and this is something that you guys are going to be able to review later, just because you've registered for today's CELPIP Listening webinar, all of you guys will receive a free copy of a textbook from Paragon about listening.
Yes, it's actually called the CELPIP Accelerate Listening and Speaking. It's actually 2 parts in there, but listening definitely. And you'll be able to hear some sample responses as well. So that will help out with the test.
And from that textbook, the most important thing is that they're going to give you some templates about how to organize your listening notes. That takes you a lot. So when we're talking about taking notes, here's one way of taking notes. And basically, I see that a lot in many of the textbooks. It's basically just just before you listen to the CELPIP listening task for 1, 2, 3, you basically prepare your notes and just write man, woman, nice perfect T,
Or
nice little
MW and a line in
MW,
between.
whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you basically just write whatever the man says on the left, whatever the woman says on the right, and you just sort of continue from back from side to side. And remember, this is a dialogue. So basically you're recording a dialogue, but it's very important to basically distinguish who said what. This is what the man said. This is what the woman said. This is what the man wants. This is what the woman said he can have. And that's a very important distinction. So even when you're listening and then you see the questions, you might get confused when you're thinking about the audience. And that's a main sort of problem there.
No, that's very, I think you've said it all. So we're actually going to
So,
look at some samples there later on of
yeah.
this. Plus,
Mhm.
in the free material that you will receive, there will be a section that says note taking, and it's going to be a PDF file that you can download, and you'll see this type of information there as well.
Mhm. So let's go ahead and actually try one out. You guys are ready? We're gonna try some note-taking skills. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and take your piece of paper now and just go ahead and write man, woman. And we're gonna actually skip section 1, which is kind of easy. Just go to section 2 or part 2 of the listening to a daily life conversation. So for this particular question, you will listen to a conversation, and that will be followed by 5 questions. Okay, it'll be followed by 5 questions. And by listening to those 5 questions, I'm just pulling out my media here. And basically, you're going to listen to a conversation, and then you're going to listen to 5 questions, which I am trying to pull out right here so I don't miss them. And they have disappeared on me.
Well, in the meantime, I know some of the questions that we're receiving, they're asking about the note paper, the actual paper. You receive one piece of paper and a pen to write down the information. You can use both sides of the paper. If you do fill it up, you can raise your hand during the test. This is the actual live test that I'm talking about. But you will receive one sheet of paper. You can write it on both sides. You can raise your hand, and they'll give you another piece of paper. So as long as if you're filling it up, that's okay. You can even end up having 3 pieces of paper at the end. So yes,
Okay.
you can have more
Thank
than
you very
one.
much. Thank you very much. I found what I was looking for, so we can go ahead. And I'm sorry for that pause there, but there we go. So basically, we're going to hear a conversation, and then we're going to have 5 questions, and you need to answer the questions, right? So let's go ahead and first of all hear the conversation. So step number 1, we're going to just listen to a conversation, and sometimes you see this prompt. This is why it's not really important to look at the screen very much. Now in section 1, usually they show you a picture. Maybe the man and woman is in a cafe or in a glasses store, or they are in a restaurant, or they are in a shop, or maybe they're on the phone, or maybe there's like an object that they're talking about, a vehicle, a stove, an appliance, right? But in any case, there isn't much of a cue that you really need. It's just a conversation between a man and a woman. So step number 1, you're gonna listen and take notes. That's all we're doing here. We're just listening and taking notes. So for this, I hope you're able to help me out. We're going to, so Anna, how about we do a little dialogue? Would that
Yes,
work?
so we're
Okay.
going to do the conversation between Mache and I, and you'll be listening to the conversation and write down any notes that you feel is important that you're listening to. Okay, take
Okay.
it away.
I hope everybody's ready. Here we go. So, hi, can I help you?
Hi, this is Charlene at Cabletron calling. We have an installation date for you.
Cabletron. Great, finally. I've survived 3 weeks in my apartment without the internet, and I'm starting to lose my mind. Let me just log into my calendar here. Sorry, the internet is a little slow in this coffee shop.
It'll be a lot faster in your home with Cabletron. When you placed your service order, you said you were available in the morning. Our installation technician will come to your house between 7:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. noon on Thursday, April 10.
Oh no, that's the day I'm supposed to bring my car to the auto shop for a mechanical check. I'm new to this province, and my car needs a safety inspection before I can register it in Ontario. Both have to be done by the 15th.
If you can't take our April 10th appointment, the next available one will be April 18th. I'm sorry, but we're unbelievably busy at this time of year. Can you change your car appointment by any chance?
Good question. Well, what do you think? which do I need more urgently right now? The internet or my car?
I'm afraid you're asking the wrong person. I'm a computer geek who doesn't drive and who doesn't drive and rides her bike everywhere. So I know which one I'd pick, but I'm biased.
I'm guessing the mechanics have a bit more flexibility in their schedule than Cabletron, so I'll go for the internet installation. I'll call the garage when I get off the phone. I'm pretty sure they can accommodate.
I hope so. But if you need to reschedule your Cabletron installation, please call us 48 hours in advance. And by the way, welcome to the province of Ontario.
Thank you. I'll see your technician on the 10th. Okay, so that was our live performance of CELPIP listening to
And all the little
listening
mistakes
to a
I made, yes.
conversation. We're not professional actors, but okay, you guys got it. So hopefully you guys have some notes. Now, actually, before we did this, we actually went ahead and we did some notes. Now, these are Anna's notes. So Anna did these are the Anna's notes.
Very simple.
So very simple. So she's got the man and the woman.
Yes,
so
and then I have no internet for now 3 weeks, and I have the @ sign at coffee shop. And then I know that they wanted to change the date for the auto shop for April 10th, and then they were talking about the technician. But April 10th, as you can see, I put same day. The woman was saying that that's the schedule that they wanted to do it for. So I put cable T for Cabletron, and then I put the sun for in the morning, or you can put AM, PM, that's up to you.
Mhm.
And then he wasn't sure about the April 18th that she had recommended. And she says she was a computer geek. And then I put a bike because she says that she travels by bike. I know it looks like a little weird drawing, but that's supposed to be a bike. And then she gave the recommendation of the 48 hours to change. So this is actually what I did when I heard it. That's what I wrote down. So it's nice and
Now,
easy, not too complicated.
some of you guys may feel, like me, may feel a little bit intimidated by how clean, neat, and legible Anna Baxter's notes really are, especially for someone like me, because my notes kind of look like this. So big idea, guys. No one in CELPIP is going to see your notes. Nobody's going to see what you write in paper. This is for you. Nobody needs to understand this except for you. So what I'm actually writing here is, I think it says, hi. I think the words, this is help you. It's like help. The L and the P kind of blend together. 3 weeks, no net. Mind is crazy. That little spiral is crazy. Just slow coffee. Home will be fast. The morning, maybe just 7:30, 12. No, there's a car, mech check. Safe inspection for Ontario for 15th. No, the 10th, April 15th. Okay, he's going to change. And again, I'm looking through this and I'm doing something different. As you saw with Anna, she just kind of did man, woman on side, and she went this. So actually, I go to more of like a script, more of a script format. So basically, I just like man, and I just put M dash, and then that's what the man says. Woman dash, that's what the woman says. It's not always so neat, but I try to just kind of put the man, woman, and basically, again, it's kind of hard to understand what I'm writing, what I'm looking at this, but it's pretty clear for me because nobody needs to understand this except for me. This writing has to be just for me. But basically what I'm doing is I'm going for more of the dialogue or script format. So basically what I'm trying to do is in many ways kind of replicate the actual script that you can see when you're actually reading it or when you're hearing it. So basically it's very clear for me to understand where the information is coming from and who the audience is, because it's important. Who is the speaker? And who is the person who makes the decision? Is it the man and the woman? And sometimes you can hear both speakers, both the man and the woman, discussing the same dates, but in the different contexts. So it's important to distinguish that. Anna, anything there?
No, I think you've pointed out all the major things that are necessary. And also note, I think the only thing I want to add in is that you don't have to make perfect sentences. Again, no one is going to see it. You can write words. I usually use a lot of symbols, as you saw in my paper, or pictures. I mean, whatever works, use it. Because for me, that's so important, especially for note taking. We're not looking for even correct spelling. You might end up just putting like doodling something. And if you put just the first three letters to help you remember something, then that's all you need. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So hopefully this will be helpful in that section there.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, and so now that we have our notes, hopefully everybody's been taking notes. Now that we have our notes, let's go ahead and actually answer the question. So now it's our opportunity to actually try to answer some of these questions. So let's go with question number 1. Who is the woman?
Go ahead and type the response there. You could put, we could start with numbers. So let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell us
Yeah,
which response you would prefer. Just put 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which one you think is correct? So go ahead, put that in the chat box. 1, 2, 3, or 4. So choose the best answer. Can you repeat the question? I think.
sure, absolutely. So here's the question again in the real test. This question will be heard only once. Now, this is very important here. In the real test, try to ignore. So here we go. First question. Who is the woman?
Is this question 2?
Right? Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and look at these questions in a second here. But I want to emphasize something because we're going to look at these questions in a second here. But remember, the key here is, first of all, listen to the question, right? Step number 1, listen to the question. Step number 2, don't look at the screen when you're listening to the question. Don't look at the screen when you're listening to the question. Use your notes to answer the question first. So first of all, listen to the question, then look at your notes to answer the question, and then try to paraphrase the question in your mind. And then once you paraphrase the question, the answer in your mind, look at the multiple choice, and then only then answer the question. Now, here's the point. If you're listening to the question and you're looking at the multiple choice questions at the same time, chances are you're going to actually miss the question entirely. Okay, so here we go. First question, who is the woman? Is it
We're
1,
going
2,
to
3, or
repeat the
4?
question again. Don't worry, we're repeating the question again. So this is the first question.
Okay, here's your first question. Who
Yes.
is the woman?
A lot of people are saying 222 BBB.
Right, perfect. Okay, we're good. We're good in this question. Very good. Question 2.
Right.
Why does the man have difficulty logging in?
We have 1 and 4 coming in, or 2 and sorry, 1, 2, and 4.
Well, if you look back at your notes,
Lots of ones.
why did the so who's, yeah, it's actually going to be, he's using public Wi-Fi because he said, I'm having trouble in this coffee shop. The internet is difficult in this coffee shop. So he's in a public place. Notice many of these phrases will be paraphrased. So again, if you're looking at the actual answers, right, first, before you're looking at your notes and trying to answer the question, you may actually make a huge mistake because many of these answers are kind of logical. They may actually make sense. They may actually make sense. Okay, let's keep going. Question 3. What did the woman intend to do with this phone call?
For the sake of, well, we're getting responses already, but can you repeat it just one more time, even though usually in the test you won't have
Right?
it repeated twice?
Sure. Here's the last one is, what did the woman intend to do with the phone call?
Okay, so we've got a lot of ones and maybe some fours, but mostly ones.
Mostly ones. Yeah, perfect. Ones are good. Absolutely. Here we go.
Yes, just remember she was trying to give him the appointment, which was initially April 10th. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was her intention, just to tell
We're
him his
coming April
appointment.
10th. Right. Okay, here we go. Question 4. Why does the phone conversation frustrate the man?
Many people put 2222 BBB. Oh, there's
Right,
tons of
absolutely.
twos.
Yeah.
And
So conflict, right? He needs to go to the mechanic, but also, right? And last question, question 5. What does the man do in the end?
got a lot of threes and C's.
Absolutely goes along with the woman's plan. So again, for this particular strategy, for the first 3 sections, these are the man and woman questions. You're gonna see the multiple choice questions, one question at a time on the screen. Big point here. Number 1, listen to the whole entire dialogue, take excellent notes, take as detailed notes as you possibly can. 2, when you get to the actual question, step number 1, listen to the question. Resist the temptation to look at the multiple choice answers. First, listen to the question. Try to paraphrase in your mind. Use your answer sheet. Use your notes to try to paraphrase or answer the question, and then only then look at the multiple choice questions and answer the question. Right. So those are the first section. At this point, are there any? I'm going to take a look to see if there are any questions for up to this point. And I'm seeing some general questions here. First of all, about how many correct that you need to have. So I believe with the Accelerate, will they get materials with a rubric like this that shows you how many answers you need?
I'm not sure if they'll receive something like that, but it really depends on how difficult the listening is that day, because
Mhm.
there is sort of a standard rubric. If you do go online, if you go to celpip.ca, there's a section that says scores, and that's where they'll give you the comparison. There's a
Mhm.
range, and what is the range for level 9, Mache?
The range is like 33 to 35, somewhere in between.
And that really depends on the level of difficulty of the listening section that moment that you're taking the test.
And
So
specifically, there is one question for 9. Yes, you need to get 33 to 35. So somewhere like that. And one thing I always ask is, how many can I get wrong in section 5 or in section 9? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about how many questions you get wrong in the first section or second section or the 6th section. You're just looking at the final total, which really matters.
that's
So
right.
basically, as many you get correct. So even if you get perfect score in section 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you kind of screw up in the last section in section 6, you can still get a pretty darn good score. So
That's right.
it's still quite possible. So don't panic. Don't panic. Another thing I also want to ask point out is, when you're doing the CELPIP listening test, there may be 1 or 2 experimental questions, as they call. So we have section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but sometimes you're going to find out you have 2 sections 2 or 2 section 5s. And then some candidates, I mean, you can read this in the back of the textbook, and again, in our school, our teachers teach this, but it's kind of surprising and frustrating for some candidates, because they've done the practice exams, they have all those 6 questions, 6 sections, one after the other, and then they've done section 5, and suddenly they have section 5 again. Did I do something wrong? Do I have to press back? Did I make a mistake? No. Right, Anna, would you like to explain a little bit about the experimental questions?
Yes, the experimental questions will never tell you which ones they are. They just put that for just for different purposes, just for our own purposes, just to see how people are responding to certain questions. And it's more just added questions, but they will never tell you which ones are the questions that are not going to be graded. So
Mhm.
just do the full test as it is, answer to the best of your ability, and that's all you need to do.
Right, just basically those experimental questions are a way for Paragon to develop their tests. So those
To
experimental
develop their
questions may
content.
appear in future examinations, but you don't know which one is the one that they're actually scoring. So the
Mhm.
experimental questions are not scored. So if you happen to get 2 section 5s and you're doing fine on one section and the other one is just really super hard and you just have a tough time with it, don't worry. It might just be the experimental question. It's not even counted.
Mhm.
Just go on. Okay, don't stress. So, and we're looking at time here. We just got to keep going. So the next section, we're looking at the hard section. So we got through the easier sections 1, 2, 3, which are the man and woman questions. It's time for section 4. Listen to the news. I just call it the story, right? And basically, we're actually going to try this one. So for the listening of the news, again, we're going to have, again, you're going to listen to you're going to listen to a news story, or I just call it a story of some sort. It's a narrative. It's a story that's going to happen. And so one of the ways that Paragon teaches, that actually Paragon teaches you in 2 different ways. And one way that Paragon teaches you about taking notes is looking at those W questions, at those 5 W questions. So what you can do is you can take your piece of paper and you can just write what, when, who, where, and why. You can just write that all around it, like in separate parts of your paper. You might want to even draw circles around them and write the information. And so basically you're listening. When you're listening, you're kind of answering the question: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And again, those 5 W questions are going to be questions. Those are going to be the types of questions that you're going to have to answer right at the end of the actual listening section. So you can just write those 5 questions on the paper, or you can just take all of those why, who, where questions and just write them on the top and just kind of draw a line in between them to make a graph. Whatever you want to do. Anna, you prefer this method, right? Or which method do you prefer?
Yeah, I do prefer the WH questions because usually when you're listening to a news report, which is what we're going to be listening to right now, we're always wanting to know, okay, who are the people involved? What did they do? When did this happen? Why did it happen? So that has to be on the forefront of your mind when doing this activity. So especially for part 4, these are the questions you're going to be thinking about. So even if you don't write it down, or if you do write it down, which is usually what I would do, but think about that. So then when you're writing it, you're thinking, okay, do I know when it happened? What happened? Who were the people involved? So ask those questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are ready, you have your papers, you have your pens, and you could try the 5 WH questions yourself. You can write them on the top with lines in between like a bar, or you can just write them around the page, whichever you like first. But here we go. You'll hear a news item once. It's about 1.5 minutes. And then you'll see 5 questions. So you see all those 5 questions together at once. And of course, you'll have to choose the best way to complete each statement from the drop-down menu at the end. We're going to see how that works. So you'll hear a news item about urban wildlife. Anybody know what urban wildlife is?
Before we
Anybody?
start.
Yeah, because it's important. This is actually an important key. What is urban wildlife? Anybody?
Somebody put birds, squirrels.
Yes,
Someone said no.
absolutely.
Pigeons, squirrels,
Pigeons, squirrels, raccoons. I live in the city of Toronto, so we get pigeons, raccoons,
deers,
deer,
rats.
rats, rabbits,
Somebody
skunks,
put a
possum,
good thing,
raccoon.
non-domestic animals living in the city.
That is a perfect definition. It's
Yeah.
non-domesticated animals living in the city. So your cats and dogs are not wildlife, unless your cats are street cats, where they could actually be wildlife if they're feral cats, as we call them. But basically, all the wild animals that live in cities, not the countryside or the forest, living specifically in the city, which is quite wonderful. It's one of my favorite hobbies. But in any case, let's move on. So step number one: listen and take notes. I hope everybody is ready. I will provide the news story.
And when we are taking notes, apart from the WH questions, I know somebody asked a question before, it's like, how do you know what to take notes of? What's going to be important in this part are dates, names, like people's names, especially the last name of a person will be very important. So when you're listening to the news, they might give you the full name at the beginning, but then when they continue, they might just use a person's last name. So that's going to be important. So think of like special things that are going on,
Right.
right?
Get perfect.
We're
Yeah,
ready?
absolutely. So here we go. Let's go ahead and listen. Here we go.
All right.
A resident of Lethbridge, Alberta, has lost the use of his backyard due to a family of unexpected guests. Henry Chang says a pair of raccoons gave birth to a litter of baby raccoons in his storage shed, a wooden structure where he keeps his tools. Chang said that he hadn't renovated the shed yet because it's old and has a hole in the side. He guessed that raccoons thought it was a good place to raise a family. Chang soon discovered he could not enter his backyard at all, as parent raccoons are fiercely protective and aggressive when raising their young. On the bright side, however, Chang joked that he doesn't have to tell his children to stop watching TV because they're too busy watching the raccoon family from the living room. Even so, Chang plans to fix the shed after the raccoons leave so that the same problem doesn't happen again next year. Local wildlife expert James Wade reminds the residents that urban raccoons are very common, but certain steps can be taken to keep them out of your house and backyards. Wade said the best approach was to block holes in places where raccoons may nest. Okay? So I hope you've had good luck taking those notes. And when I'm taking notes, I usually remember and I still finish off some things, the last points here and there to get them done because they're so important. So again, let's take a look. These are the beautiful, very neat and clean looking notes that Anna took for
Uh,
this. So she actually
Honestly,
wrote down, yeah,
I always think they're not neat, but thank you for saying that. What we
the
got here, like
comparison. Yeah.
you will notice that I did divide it by questions. I did put what, who, when, where, why. And for me, that's always like an instant thing. The W's is what, who, where, when, why. So that's how I wrote it down. Even before I started the listening, I already wrote those words down. So when the instructions were given in the listening section at the beginning, I just wrote those questions quickly, sort of separated them, and then I was just writing the information down while I was listening to it. So obviously here we got the baby raccoons in the shed. Parents, or in the case here where it says parents, we're talking about the raccoon parents are aggressive because they're protecting their babies. And then who they were talking about the Henry Chang and his problems with the back shed. He wasn't able to renovate, so that's the no reno. And then there was another person, James. He says that it takes some steps to do things. So the steps, that was me. I literally just did that for steps. So,
Wow. Yeah.
so you will
So
notice that there are things that this is the way I do it. And then where it said when, we didn't find out exactly when this happened, when the incident, because sometimes they'll give a specific date and specific time or the month it happened. But here I didn't hear anything like that. So I just put a question mark and continued. Where did it happen? It was in Alberta. I couldn't remember Leth something. I just put Leth, Alberta, and that was it. Because later on, if the question comes up, at least I know how it starts. And then why did this happen? That he couldn't enter the back shed because the raccoons had taken over. So the raccoon family basically took over.
Yeah. And again, those are beautiful, clean stories. I like the B and C. Sometimes
Well,
I
because
usually
they
use
do
that
that
as a
without
because. Yeah,
too.
because. Yeah. So there
W/O
are some
without.
short. It's nice
Oh,
to learn
always
some shorthand, taking notes. And
abbreviate.
again, very nice organization. And again, I say these are very beautiful notes because you see mine. They look terrible. Well, there you go. It looks like I always say it looks like a chicken scratching, like maybe or something like that. Again, it's very hard to see, when you're saying, okay, it's Lethbridge, it's just Lethbridge, Alberta, Henry Chang. I kind of remembered, and that little stream, squiggly line, that's supposed to mean backyard. So again, what I do is it looks like chaos. Again, this is very important. You're going to receive a textbook with a lot of these outlines, and you can do the who, what, when, where questions. You can do the man, woman side questions and these different diagrams. I really do what works for me. So when I think about the man, woman questions, I just do them MW as I go. I just kind of think about it as a movie script. I love literature. I've read a lot of plays. I'm a fan of Shakespeare. I'm a fan of plays in general. So I that's how I write things down. But for a story, it's just like, for me, it just makes sense just to write the story in a narrative in a shorthand and just use these little lines that just keep going as things happen. Sometimes I have this very distinctive way of just, I put a line to show a new point, and I kind of make this arrow or this sort of half arrow or half hook that say it's a point that's related to the other point. And that's really all I do. It's very, very simple. I don't care if it looks pretty beautiful. As long as I'm able to understand and follow what's happening, again, that's fine, right? And again, it's not about using one particular technique. It's what works. Remember, no one's going to see these notes. You will, but they are essential. They are very important.
I think
And
that's the most important point that you're making, is trying to find what works for you. Because even, I mean, I've known students that are great at memorizing. Not everybody can do that. So if you're able to recall all the information without writing any notes, that's fantastic. But not everyone can do that. So we always recommend people to take notes and try to do it as effectively as possible.
I would say I have a pretty good memory too, but what the problems I have is when I have to answer the questions. When I see the questions, they're confusing and they're probable answers. It's like identifying who is doing the certain actions. So this is kind of important, but let's go ahead and answer some questions. So here we go. So for this particular story, from section 3 to section 6, we got all of the questions in a drop-down menu, and you have a certain amount of time to answer those questions. So let's start with question number 1. The raccoons use the shed to... Anybody? Can look at your notes.
Okay, so again, we can do it 1, 2, 3, 4. A
Just
lot
1,
of
2,
them are
3,
saying
4.
4. Many of them are
Yeah.
saying 4.
Yeah, 4, yeah, have their babies. That's exactly it, right? So there's a family of babies, yeah. Number 2, a negative result was that Mr. Chang...
We got lots of 3s coming in, 3s, C's, 3s.
Yeah, perfect. Couldn't use his backyard. Great. Number 3, a positive result was that Mr. Chang's...
We've got lots of twos and bees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically the
Thankfully,
same.
it wasn't number one. You should never play with raccoons. They're very cute, but leave them alone. And in the future, Mr. Chang will.
Got a lot of number ones and A's.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to fix that hole, right? And number 5, according to wildlife experts, raccoons
Got a lot of ones.
One is correct. Yeah, they're very common, right? We saw that quite a lot, right?
And something that you'll notice too is usually you'll have maybe one or two responses that are completely wrong. Those you eliminate quickly. And that's one of the things to do, whether you're doing the listening or reading section, is to eliminate the responses that are not correct and don't go back to it. Don't reread it. Don't look at it. If you know they're wrong, they're wrong. Then look at the two that are left and then select the best out of those two options. Usually one or two might make sense, but definitely one or two might be completely wrong. So you'll notice that in your responses too.
And again, when you're not sure, trust your notes. Trust your notes above everything else. Sometimes when you're taking notes, you forget what you wrote down, but actually you have that permanent memory when you're writing things down. So your notes are very important. So that's pretty much about the story. So that's pretty much the formats that we're going to see for format part 4, 5, and 6. But actually 4, 5, and 6 are a little bit difficult. So 4 is really the story. 5 is called listening to a discussion, but I just call it 3 people with names. I usually call this 3 people with names. Sometimes it's 2 people with names. I've noticed
Well,
that 3 people with names.
in this case, they try to always make it 3 people. And the
Yeah.
good thing about this is they'll always have their names written down. So keep that in mind because that's going to be important throughout. But it's a dialogue between 3 people. It could be 3 people, it could be 3 friends, 3 coworkers, 3 people in a community, in a park. So it's always sort of related to more community, workplace. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the Paragon way of doing it is to just kind of think about when you're taking notes, you just go speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, and you just sort of identify speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3. I would just put even 3 lines like this. So that's one way to do it.
Or not even putting speaker. I mean, I think what you were saying is putting the names down would be better to identify them. So putting, if it's Bob, Ricky, and Jane, then put the names, or even the letters of their first name sometimes also helps.
Yeah, the names are very, very important for this section. And actually, this is a unique section because this is the only video. So this is actual video that you're going to watch. It's a 2-minute videos with 8 questions. And when you actually see the question, first of all, it will tell you a little bit background. You'll watch a discussion among 3 people, 1 woman and 2 men. Well, you can see that in the picture. They're discussing a situation that is happening in the hospital gift shop. This is important. This is one of those cues. Understand the context. So the fact that it doesn't matter if it's a man, woman, and how many men or women at this point, is the fact that they're talking about a situation that's happening in a hospital gift shop. So that is the context in which the discussion is taking place. It's very, very important to identify that. And again, why I'm saying it's not important at this point to care if this is a man and woman is because you'll see. This is an actual video that you can see. And so in the beginning of the video, they'll actually tell you the names of those 3 people. They'll say this guy here is Jason, Alec, and Janet. And very important here, when you're at this point, when they're giving your name, that's when you actually begin to start taking notes. So what I do is I begin immediately, and at the top of my page, I just write Jason, Alec, and Janet. At this point, I'm just actually writing in short form. I'm writing Jas as in Jason, Alec, and Jan as in Janet. That's really all I'm going to do. And basically, as I continue with my notes, right, I know what these 3 names are, but also by writing these 3 names, I'm writing them in the proper order. This is very important because the man and the woman on the left, the man on the right, you may actually get questions that ask you about the man and the woman and the man in the middle. How do you know that Alec is in the middle? Well, you're going to write those three names down. You'll know which order they are sitting. So if you get into trouble, you have that visual signal. And again, then after that, it's basically the same note-taking style as I do in the man and woman question. The only difference is instead of man and woman, I just put Jan, Jos, Ale, and again, there's a couple of J's there, so I just put Jan, Jos, Jan, Jas, Ale, and again, I know who it is. This is important to understand who is saying what point and what ideas, because each question that you're going to be hearing, each of those 8 questions that you're going to be hearing will refer specifically to each of these people's names or each of these people's ideas. But sometimes they won't mention the name. They'll say the woman or the woman on the left or the guy on the right. And again, that's why it's so important. This is how Anna does her notes. Again, it's quite more legible. You can see here, it looks chaotic. It's a hospital, not a hospital. H gift, that makes sense to me, right? When you can see here, again, this is what we have.
Well, this one is actually a different conversation, but yes, you can see where it has Janet, that little dots there, that's snow, and they were talking about snow geese. So I just put dot snow. Okay, I'll remember. And then you can see under Alex, it has hunt snow geese. So
Yeah.
you can see that I take notes very differently from a Che. So
Which is fine, which is totally
yeah.
fine. But
Yeah.
but one thing that we definitely share when we're looking at this is both Anna and I will write those 3 names at the top of the page right away. I don't even put the full version. I just write a short term because it's easier for me to figure out what the short term is going to be as I quickly and frantically write my narrative, my dialogue. But it's important to write those 3 names at the top of the page and write them in the right order. Anything that you'd like to add there, Anna, for this particular section?
No, that was great. I mean, this will be a little bit more challenging because the dialogue is longer, but as long as you know sort of you're able to identify who is saying what, because you need to also listen and look at them when they're talking, because that's going to be part of the video experience. But it's always going to be somebody, it's always going to have some type of context, know what it's talking about. So, what is the overall context of the conversation? And then each person will have their own opinion. So, sometimes they will not agree. So, that's why it's important to know who is saying what in this context here.
I'm looking at some of the questions here, and Anna Maris is saying, then it should be called note-taking exam. And well, I would agree with you. This is kind of a note-taking exam. Now remember, it's a listening, but it's not just passive listening, it's active listening. You need to be yes, I would totally agree with you. This is a note-taking exam. If your quality of notes your ability to take good notes, understand and organize what you're listening will be the main determining factor in your success in this particular exam. Absolutely.
So we do
Anything
recommend
else?
in almost all the sections, even in the speaking section, we recommend you take notes, and many people don't, but it's a very good habit to have. So whether it's speaking, whether it's listening, try to take some notes down. It will definitely help you improve your score.
Yeah. Okay, the final and most difficult question is called listening to viewpoints. I basically call it 3 points of view. It's not always 3 points of view. Sometimes it's 2 points of view, but I just call it 3 points of view. And this is by and far the most challenging type of question. And it's very special. So the organization is very difficult. Unlike section 5, which is basically you're just taking a dialogue the same way as the man and woman questions. Section 3, you basically begin, you have to organize your text right away. You have to organize your paper into 3 separate ideas. Now, what I usually do is I listen to what they're going to be talking about. So for example, you will hear a report one, it's about 3 minutes long, there are 6 questions, then you choose the best answer. And at this point, they would say, you'll hear a presentation about, and then in the options or qualities or points of view, you will hear a presentation about options for acquiring a car. Already in my mind, the first thing I'm going to do is listen carefully to what those options are, because the speaker is going to mention all 2 or 3 of those options. From my experience, I've done a lot of these CELPIP listening tests. There's usually those 3 options. There's 3 options. So in this particular text, there's options for acquiring a car. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to listen carefully, and you're going to listen for the speaker list those 3 options. So the first thing they're going to do, you're going to listen carefully, and you're going to listen for those 3 options. So when you're taking notes, what I do is I listen for those 3 options, and then I write the first option. I write the first option on the top of the page, and this option was the used, and then there was the new, and there was the leasing option. So these are 3 options for getting a car. You can get a used car, you can get a new car, or you can get a lease, or you can lease a car. Those are the 3 options. So I hear for those 3 options, and then I immediately write the first option at the top of the page, the second option in the middle of the page, and the last option sort of in the lower part of the page, but giving myself space about where I'm going to be organized. That's step number 1. Step number 2, and this is a very important option. Listen carefully, because these 3 options will be advocated or supported or unsupported by several people, right? So you listen carefully. So you listen for those names. So, okay, so example, you'll say, so you'll be used, new, and leased cars. Jane Repton believes, right? And again, you can see, I kind of wrote Jane. If you can see it, you can hardly see it. It's hard to write their first names. It depends whatever works for you. Repton is kind of hard. I'm like, how am I going to Jane Rep, maybe a rep or something. You don't have to write the full names. It's almost impossible to write the full names. Then I heard McNabb, Ron McNabb. McNabb was easier. I just wrote McNabb. And Tom Purdy, Purdy, I don't even know what I wrote down, but close enough. Was it Purdy or was it Perry? Was it Pretty? It really doesn't, but close enough, right? So you don't have to worry about the spelling. You just want to sound out the name. However, those names are very, very important, because when you look at those questions for section 6, those questions, will specifically ask for the names of those people. So again, and sometimes you can be a little bit misused, misguided here. For business or dealer, buying a used car involves, now remember, Jane Repton, she might like the used car. I believe Jane Repton, yeah, she liked the used car. We know she's under the used car. She likes the used cars. She prefers them. So maybe that's easy. But sometimes the names, sometimes these individuals will talk negatively about the other options. So you have to be very careful. Anna?
Yes. So in the case here, I think what you're doing is great, because it's important to know what these options are. And for me, I think I would have more divided it into people, because obviously each person is going to have their opinion about that certain situation. But first, understanding the situation will be important. What are they talking about? What's the topic? So once we understand that, then they're going to talk about different people. In this case here I'm not saying it was easier. I'm just saying that in the case here, it was easier to identify when you put lease or rent or buy. So those things did help. So if you can hear those type of information to help you, to guide you, to allow you to separate the information, but at least try to divide it into 3 parts and give enough space for each part so you can write down information, whether it's a person saying it or it's a situation of that context. Write it down into 3 parts. So this is one way that I find very effective. And as you can see, I think the notes that you took down was great.
Yeah, so I usually just go for this three-step approach. Step number one, listen for that context. So basically, the choice in that prompt, it will tell you what they're going to be talking about, choices about something, a particular way of living, how to get rid of garbage, and then listen carefully for the speaker listing those three choices. I write those three choices down on spread out on my piece of paper, and then when I hear the name, I try my best with whatever spelling to sound out those names and write them near those three categories where they are associated, and be able to, and in any case, if for example, I can see from my notes here, I have a line that comes from the used and to the new, and that's because Jane Repton actually had a point of view about new cars and those why she doesn't buy new cars, and more, they're too more expensive, and again, so she had a negative point about new cars, and that kind of helps me sort of to say that maybe she had a negative point about this or that. And again, that's just my approach. There are different approaches, but in any case, it's very important to make sure that you attach the names next to those 3 points of view, because and what those 3 points of view are, because the questions will depend. So in any case, we talked about these 6 different points. Anna, would you like to add anything about these 6 different styles of or CELPIP exam?
Well, I mean, if you're going to be practicing, obviously we do have some free practice that you can do. Uh, when you open an account, so if you go to celpip.ca, you can open an account and you'll receive 2 free practice tests. So this way you can practice it, and at the end you'll see the score. So for the listening or the reading sections, the score will be written there. So at least that will give you some indication as to how you're doing. But in terms of practicing on your own, I mean, listening either to TED Talks, listening to the news every day, finding out what's going on, just being more aware of what people are saying, who is saying what are they saying, what's the context, what's the information, what are the dates, what are the names, all that will be important to practice in your daily life. So these are just things that you can take away from this practice here. So, but it's a lot of great information. And for people who are wondering, because I did see a comment on the chat box that they're asking if this is going to be recorded, the answer is yes, and you will receive it in about an hour from now. So you'll receive some information from us. We'll also be sending you a survey as well, if you can help us out just to get more feedback and how we can improve on these presentations. And yes, you'll get the free material also, so we'll send the voucher code along with that.
Again, when you take make a CELPIP.ca account, you get 2 free versions of the listening test. I believe this is April. Right now it's March 24th. As of March 24th, do you still have a 50% off sale on CELPIP materials? Or is that over?
Yes, right now there's a 50% off, but it's only for the bundle package. So if for the CELPIP, there is a bundle from test. There's sets 1 to 8. There's a 50% off right now for the next 3 days, and it's only until Friday you have 50% off. So if you want to take advantage and just get all the practice tests possible, and that's exactly 16 tests. Each set has 2 tests. So set 1, 2 tests, set 2, 2 tests, set 3, 2. So even if you get the 8 sets, you'll have exactly 16 tests to practice on. So take advantage.
Okay, so we're at that time. We're just pushing over that 1 hour. This is big topic, CELPIP listening. This is your Q&A questions here. So Anna, just keep them coming. What kind of questions do we have today here? So we're going to try to answer as much as we possibly can. And Patrick is back.
Can you see how much the cost is right now of the bundle? Because it's 50% off, and somebody's asking about the price. So just to quickly check to see what the price is,
For the Accelerate bundle?
For the practice test
practice
bundle,
tests? Okay.
it sets 1 to 8. And if you just go online, that's the first thing it says is 50% off bundle.
Let's see.
So if you go to celpip.ca on the main page, the first page, it's there. It says 50% off. And thank you for mentioning that, because that just happened today, and it's like a flash sale for 3 days. So that's something
50%
for you
off.
to practice on. You will also notice we've added a handout today. The handout there you will notice is from Maciej's courses because he does offer preparation courses as well as one-on-one courses. So if you are interested, click on the handout. So there's a section that says handouts. You can download it, and it's the poster with all the information from Maciej as well.
Yeah, so
And
it
if you
says the
want
price
to,
is, oh, yeah.
go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead, Anna.
No, go ahead.
It just says the price is 180. It says save 50% off by using, it gives you the discount code at the checkout until March 26th. So you get 2
So
days
it'll
to,
be like 90, I would assume then.
roughly,
Or
yeah.
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 And that's a
Yep.
great uh, thing to have for 16 tests. So take
Definitely.
advantage if you can. And Maciej, can you tell us a little bit about your courses as well? So if people want to inquire or how, if they want to continue preparing for these courses, because this was a tidbit. There's so much
Mhm.
more useful information. And Maciej has this in his classes. So I would highly recommend if you can take the classes.
Right. Yes. Again, Summerhill Online Academy has private and group CELPIP preparation courses. We're very happy to get the support of Paragon. So we've developed this program with Paragon with some of the materials that they've been providing with us. So we provide private and group classes. So if you're looking for private lessons, they're available all the time. And you can just sign up for a free consultation. So we provide a free 30-minute consultation if you just register for a program inquiry at www.summerhillonlineacademy.com. And again, anything with that's Paragon related, you can just go ahead and contact Anna, or you can contact Anna or Paragon at info@celpip.ca, and someone will certainly be able to help you. April 6th is our next group course. So we actually have a really beautiful, affordable group course every single month. So our next start date is this April 6th, and it's a complete CELPIP preparation course for speaking, reading, listening, and writing. So if you enjoyed today's little workshop, it is, as Anna said, just a tidbit, just sort of tip of the iceberg. This particular course will talk about each section of the listening in detail. This is a 4-week intensive course. It's 2 hours a day, Monday to Friday for 4 weeks, or a total of 40 hours of CELPIP preparation classes for CELPIP speaking, listening, reading, and writing. If you're interested in the course, again, please go to Summerhill Online Academy, fill out a free program inquiry form, and we can provide you with a free 30-minute consultation to make sure that, with a diagnostic session, to make sure that your English level is sufficient for this particular course, and we can answer any of your questions about the CELPIP preparation course. You can also download a free course outline. If you register for our inquiry, we'll send you a course outline as well that gives you a breakdown, a daily breakdown of our CELPIP courses. Again, we are an official CELPIP network member, so we're a official CELPIP preparation program for Paragon. All of our teachers are CELPIP trained teachers, and they have absolutely a wonderful experience. And we hope that if you're looking for your CELPIP sometime in about next month, we do provide that course, and it begins April 6th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we also
There are
have a course 6 to 8 Pacific time as well. If you're from Vancouver or from Alberta, we have actually 2 times, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time and 6 to 8 Pacific time as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. So just so that you know, there are some people that are inquiring and they say they cannot make it for these courses. You do have private classes. So if you want to get information about that, just go ahead, fill out the information, and you can have a 30-minute discussion for free with Maciej. So there's a 30-minute consultation that you can do with him to see what would be the best approach and what you would need. So that would be fantastic for you to do. Also, there's somebody who's asking about the reading section. If we have information, if we're going to do a video, You do have a pre-recorded video, I think, Mache, from the last time that we did these sessions. It's not the
Yeah,
first time we're here, folks. We've been here
yeah.
before.
So we've been doing these workshops for a
Yeah.
few months now. So if you actually go to YouTube, and you can find my channel, the Summerhill Online Academy official YouTube channel, and you can see all of our older workshops. So we have a workshop for reading, speaking, writing. This is our first workshop for listening. So it will be posted in about a week or so. Usually about a week to 2 weeks, we post them onto YouTube channel. But you can see our previous workshop for reading, speaking, and writing. And we also have a general workshop that talks about CALE and CELPIP. For some of you ICCRCs, you guys are interested in taking a CELPIP course or a CALE course for your ICCRC designation. You can definitely check that out as well. But you can definitely check out my videos on YouTube. Like me.
Patrick, do we have any questions there that you can ask us?
We got lots of questions coming through, so everybody's really participating tonight, which is great.
Oh, can you repeat the YouTube channel, Mache?
It's
There's a
basically
comment there.
all you have to do is search Summerhill Online Academy. So it's just the name of my school, and you just go to Summerhill Online Academy, and you will see all the videos there from Summerhill Online Academy. Again, all the videos we had previously, you can find them there.
Yeah, and we're hoping to do more soon, so we're trying to keep this up as well. So hopefully we'll have one each month to share with you.
Absolutely.
Let's see if there's any other.
Oh, somebody already
questions
subscribed. Nice. Thank you for that.
There you go.
For the YouTube.
Perfect.
You guys are quick. You're using technology faster than I can.
And we appreciate your attention. We've been here for an hour and 22 minutes, and most of the attendees that came stayed.
Oh, they're still
Any
here.
other questions, guys? Any questions, guys? This is your time. We're here for you. And this is a
and
big
we do
topic,
apologize
obviously.
if we've missed any, but they've been coming quite frequently. All these questions are just popping up. So we're trying to respond as we go. So, but then later on, if you do have any questions, you do have our contact information there. Could you go back maybe a page, Mache, so they could see your contact information as well?
Yeah,
if they
absolutely.
need to ask you any questions later on.
Best way to do this is, again, just go to summerhillonlineacademy.com. You can just Google it. You can Google my name. The first name that pops out, the first 6 entries that pop out, if you search for Maciej Blazik, it's me on Google. So I'm kind of out there. You can find me on just summerhillonlineacademy.com. Best way to do that is just go to my website, fill out the program inquiry form, and again, it's a free form, no risk to you, and you get a free 30-minute consultations with your truly. I'll be there with you. I'll talk to you for 30 minutes. I'll be happy one-on-one to answer any of your questions, give you a brief diagnostic, answer any of the questions that you have that I was not able to answer here, and give you any information about our private and group classes for CELPIP preparation.
So just to reiterate, the free material that you will be receiving, we will give you a voucher code so that you can get it for free. It's the CELPIP Accelerate CELPIP Accelerate Listening and Speaking. And in about half an hour, you will get an email from us, and we will give you the voucher code. So basically, you will need to have a CELPIP account or open up a CELPIP account. There's going to be a section that says study materials. Go ahead and click on the CELPIP Accelerate Listening and Speaking. And when you're going to the checkout, there's going to be a discount. You can put your discount code, which is a voucher code that we're giving you, and you'll receive it for free. So that will be in your account. And there was somebody else that was asking about doing this at home, doing the test at home. Can you give us some information, Patrick, about that, if they're able to take the CELPIP test at home or not?
Yeah, sure. So the CELPIP test, you still have to take it at the test center. So it doesn't have an online format. But our academic test, CALE, which is CAEL, it can be taken from home if you live in Canada, US, and parts of Latin America. But CELPIP unfortunately still has to be taken at the test center. So
The CALE
Colin
test
asked,
that,
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, just very quickly, the CALE test that Patrick is mentioning, that's the academic test. It is a Canadian test as well. You can do it on the computer, but this is only for academic purposes, for university, college purposes. So that is CAEL. If you need more information, you can go to cale.ca. Mache, you had something to say.
There was a question here from Colin. He said nothing before the 4th. So basically, 4th is a Sunday, the 5th is a holiday. It's Easter Monday, so that's why on April 6th we're beginning. So we try to keep it very intensive. So it's basically every single day, Monday to Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. That's 2 hours a day of CELPIP classes. It's a very structured program. So basically, that's why we begin it at the start of each month. However, we do have this we do run the CELPIP preparation group class every Monday at the beginning of each month. You can go to my website and you can take a look at the start and end dates for the remainder of the year. So you can take a look at start dates for each month. They're a little bit different because of the holiday schedule, but you can take a look. So every month we do have those.
And thank you for all the supportive information here, because a lot of people are thanking us for the listening today, and they're telling us that we're giving good tips and strategies. So thank you for that, for anybody who's responding. And there is a question, I'm not sure, Patrick, if you might know, is CALE approved for real estate exam? That I'm not too sure about.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. There is a link on the CALE website that says who accepts CALE, but I know that CELPIP is commonly accepted by real estate boards, so including Real Estate Council of BC. But yeah, you could check the CALE website as well. We do have a list of all the institutions that accept the academic tests, so as well as CELPIP.
Okay, great, thank you.
Welcome.
Right, somebody has to go back to work, so good luck to them. But they're very happy to attend. Thanks.
All right. So I think any other questions here? I think Ashok asked whether there are any physical classes in Vancouver. I'm not sure any physical classes in Vancouver, but if you are in Vancouver, we do provide online classes for Summerhill Net Academy. So again, we do have the 6 to 8 p.m. Vancouver time option as well. So we chose 6 to 8 p.m. because most of us are working 9 to 5. That gives you an hour to go home, take a shower. And again, what's really nice about our classes, there are very small classes. So these online classes, this is not a class of 30 students. These are not pre-recorded videos. These are live classes with a teacher in the class, and it's no more than 9 students per class. So we keep the numbers low to make sure that we have enough attention for each one of our students, so that the teacher can give enough attention. There's a daily homework assignment, so it's a very very classroom-like environment, even though it is virtual.
Great. I think we're all set.
Here, I
Any
think
other
we're set.
Patrick? I know Patrick has responded to a few of them already, so I think we've covered most of them. Oh,
Just
there's
have
somebody.
About a private course. Oana's test is in 2 days, and she's inquiring about a private course, what the cost would be.
So the private sessions are $60 an hour, and these are one-on-one sessions with a professional CELPIP instructor. The group classes are $650, which are a much better deal. But we do understand that if you're, my option, generally speaking, is private lessons are absolutely wonderful, but especially if you've taken CELPIP many times and are struggling with one section more than the other, especially in writing. Some students are really struggling with writing and with speaking. Private lessons can definitely boost you up. But if you haven't done any CELPIP preparation and you're about to take an exam the next 2 weeks, my advice would be to delay your exam until a later date. So does it cost anything to reschedule for another date or push it down?
Patrick? He's got all the info.
Sorry about that. I was distracted by some of the questions. Could you repeat that again?
Let's say I have an exam next week. If I wanted to reschedule, like 2 weeks, like, yeah, whatever, for let's say for the next month, does it cost anything to reschedule or delay?
And how far in advance can they do that?
Right.
Yeah, so some changes came into effect due to the pandemic. So we made it a little bit easier for you guys. So basically, from my understanding, you have to request a test transfer at least 2 business days before your test. And I believe that the transfer is free of charge. So for more information, you can contact our customer service team. But from my knowledge, that was the change that came into effect.
That's fantastic.
To help you guys a little bit more due to COVID.
It used to be 9 days. Yeah, it used to be 9 days. So 2 is
and there was some sort of charge. So my simplest answer would be if you're looking to, if you have already had experience with CELPIP and you just need a push in a particular direction, private lessons will be excellent for you, especially if you have problems with your writing or with speaking. However, if you have not had taken any classes for preparation for CELPIP, my best advice would be delay your test for another month. Again, it's free and you can do it even if it's coming soon. And take the entire 4-week program. Take the time to invest the time into learning and preparing for this. This is a difficult exam, and even candidates which are native language students can struggle with standardized language proficiency examinations. And if they don't have the right strategies, techniques, and approaches for these in particular exam, so my advice would be take the full 4-week program first. You will save significant money because you'll be able to take many more hours for a much cheaper price, but it's also a really excellent program. And after you complete the program, you can try private lessons. But again, private lessons are available anytime at flexible hours at any time. Yeah.
There are some candidates today that are giving us their scores. I can see different various scores, and they're not sure, I think, how much help they would need. Go get your consultation, talk to an expert, see what you need, and then from there you can decide whether you need to take additional courses or you prefer to take one-on-one courses. That will definitely help you so we can pinpoint where the necessity is to guide you along.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, and anybody that wants to know what score they're required to meet for citizenship or immigration to Canada, you'd have to contact the government directly, which is Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada.
Yeah.
They have a website, canada.ca, and they would have information there on what scores you would typically have to meet in an English test.
Fantastic. All right. Okay, I think we're all set.
Okay.
Well,
so
thank you so much for joining us. Wow, thank you for the questions. That was great, and we had a fantastic audience today too.
Yes, thank you very much for attending our webinar. We're very happy to have you here today. And again, we're hoping to continue providing these webinars on a monthly basis. So stay tuned for our next webinar. If you'd like to know more about our future webinars, subscribe to my Facebook page at Summerhill Online Academy on Facebook. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these upcoming webinars, as I'm going to be posting this one and all of past and future webinars onto my Summerhill Online Academy official YouTube page. And again, check out Summerhill Online Academy, download the free course outline, schedule a free consultation if you need some advice, some pointers, or if you'd like to learn more about our private and group classes. Thank you for attending, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Stay safe, and you guys have been fabulous guests.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.